everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Kathy with Attic Treasures, etc. And I thought today it would be fun to make some clusters together for Make Ahead Monday. And what I usually like to do is take a piece of coffee dyed paper and I start by just stamping some images on it, and then we'll just sort of take it from there. So first of all, I think I'd like to put on a little bit of background. So I'm going to use this stamp, just sort of a little crosshatch, and I think I'll do it in Vintage Photo Archival, so that way if I decoupage anything on it later, it won't come off. I better leave the stamp open. It's not really getting a whole lot of ink on it. So I'm just super random about it because once these are all covered with clusters, you won't even hardly see any of this. But just something in the background. And then I thought I would also put on a little bit of script. So I have a little bit of script here. Same thing, just gonna randomly stamp it on, just in different places. And then this forms the background for my clusters. Because what I like to do is make clusters on a sheet like this, and then I can just sort of tear them off as I need them. Okay. That's it for that one. And that was ground espresso. And so for the next one, I think I would like to use Vintage Photo. Actually, I thought I was using Vintage Photo. But I'd like to use some roses as well. Just ink this up. And this just gives sort of the suggestion of roses in the background. Again, super random, not even really thinking about it. Okay, that's good. Now comes the fun part. Clean that off with a little bit of baby white, and then put it back in my CD case. And back in my holder. Alrighty. Now, the fun part is just picking out some random bits and pieces of paper just to make some clusters on, or with, I guess I should say. And they don't need to be real big. I do like to tear the edges a little bit. So I'm just going to sort of scatter these around. This is a super fun project. You can totally do this in front of the TV if you can haul all your scraps out. Sometimes I like to do that, but I also like to just be in my craft space, kind of working by myself without a lot of distraction. Sometimes I'll put some music on. It's kind of chilly outside today, so I have my very fashionable Costco fleece-lined flannel shirt on because it's so cozy. I don't know if anybody listening, or watching rather, has ever gotten one of their shirts from Costco, I am telling you, when it's winter, I live in this thing. And I love it. So cozy. How's everybody doing today? Been raining all day. I'm totally fine with that. I'd rather be nowhere else than right here when it's raining. We were supposed to get thunderstorms the other day, and we did not. And I have to tell you, I felt a little cheated by that. I really enjoy thunderstorms. Don't really enjoy it when it gets super, super windy though. So as you can see, just by kind of positioning these on my paper, when they get torn out of here, the background becomes part of the cluster. So nothing gets wasted. I've made a few this way, and I really like the result. Sometimes I tear them all apart when I'm done and put them in, I don't know, some sort of a convenient envelope or something like that to grab when I'm ready. But most of the time I just leave them on the paper. And 9's a nice number for these, because then you can really sort of layer them and play with them any way you like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just use some glue. I'm just using the Scotch Create glue stick for this. And I'm not being too particular about getting all the edges down, because mostly I'm just trying to keep it all in place. And then, actually, you know what I would really like to do first is ink up the edges. So let me grab my vintage photo. I found these little containers at the dollar store, and they're just exactly the right size for all my little distress inks, but they're kind of hard to get out, so I use this little spatula that came with my Cricut. But anyway, dollar store. Let's see here. I need to take that off. Did you know that the ink pads fit in the bottoms of these little minis? Isn't that the coolest thing? So I just got some new blending foams. And, okay, a couple of them aren't going to get ink, but these are. But I was watching a Tim Holtz demo, and he explained how the little blending foams are designed to fit right in the bottoms of these little minis. I was like, what? That way you always have one dedicated to that color. Now, the oxides that come in the bigger containers, you can't really do that with it. So I made my own little daubers that are dedicated to each color. And what I did is I took some spools, empty spools of thread, and I do a lot of sewing, so I end up with a lot of empty spools. And in fact, this craft has been great for that, because I have been able to use up a lot of old thread just doing edges, you know, sewing the edges on paper and stuff. But I took this same paper, because I have a whole roll of it that I found at a garage sale, and I wrapped it around. First I colored it in Sharpie so it was black, and then I took a piece of this craft paper, whatever this is, and colored it with the the ink and then labeled it with my little label maker and wrapped it around, and now I've got little daubers specific to each color that I have. And it's kind of fun to see them all colored like that. So that was my little project. And my husband made a stand for my camera setup, and it holds my ring light, which is awesome. But when I tried to, I did a video for Scrappy Saturday and discovered that it wasn't very stable when I went to edit the video, and the camera, I kept knocking it or something. Every time I put one of the daubers, one of these tools, in the little cup hooks that he built for me, or installed, you know, screwed into the sides, it made the camera go back and forth. So I had to scrap that video because I was not going to make everybody seasick. So anyway, I'll have another video out next Saturday. All right, so let's get that. Hopefully that didn't bump the camera. Okay, let's finish getting these down. Whoops, I forgot one. Okay. And actually, I think I can still get those other ones, those other two. Are they stuck yet? I think I might be able to, oh look, haha, I win. Because I really like the way that looks. I just re-inked this one too. And I also learned how to properly re-ink an ink pad. I had been doing it wrong the whole time. So now that I know how, I think I'll be a little bit more regular at doing it. It's funny, the things you think you know, and then you find out you don't know it at all. Okay, so I'll try to post a video every Monday for Make Ahead Monday, where we can just make things, you know, a bunch of the same type of things, sort of mass produce them, and then that way we'll have them for our projects later on. Okay, back to gluing these on. I'm just going to check and see if I'm in frame well enough. Can you see okay? Yeah, that looks all right. Okay. Let's try this again. Hoping to get to see our grandkids soon. We haven't seen them in quite a while, except on Zoom. And we haven't been super regular with that either, but we need to be better. My husband's gotten into building models during the pandemic. He had one. I mean, we bought him a what was it, a Mustang, I guess it was, and a Mustang model, and he's had it forever without really doing anything with it. And I got into doing this a year ago, this past December, and I made a bunch of journals for friends, and finally convinced him, take your model and make your model. So not only did he start having a lot of fun with it, but since then he has also done one of the original series of Star Trek: The Enterprise. So that's been kind of fun for him. Plus, they were in one of my craft drawers here, and now I have my craft drawer freed up again. So that's good. Okay, so that's the first layer down. Next, I think it would be good to maybe have some music page, but I want one where I like them where the notes are a little bit more compact on there, a little closer together than this one where the bars are really far apart. So I'm going to go ahead and choose some of these. Let's see. And again, I am just literally just layering on, not really thinking a whole lot about it. This is some really old music sheet, but not a bigger one. Let's see here. This one looks like it could be good. Let me see. A great scrap busting exercise. And probably like many of you, I have lots and lots and lots of scrap. So it's fun to kind of just use it all up. And your scraps become scraps. Right? Am I right? Okay. Oh, look. Perfect. Okay, so this one is a little bit lighter than the rest of them, isn't it? But does it matter? I'm thinking it doesn't matter. But let's give this one, do I want to do the same color? Yeah, I think I'm going to do the same color. Just because it's easier and I have it. Okie dokie. I'm sure you all know how to ink, so I'm going to be quiet while I do this so that when I edit, I can just fast forward. All right, let's get this layer down. So what's your favorite way to use up scraps? This is definitely one of mine. And it's amazing how quickly I go through these clusters once I've got them done. They make great embellishments on pockets or belly bands, even just like a little corner treatment in a journal. Super simple to do. And when you're all done, it feels like you really accomplished something. At least it does for me. Okay, that's the next layer. Now we can do a little bit of book page. I can find more in my little bin. 1 second. Apparently, I have plenty of book page. So I will just set that over there. Some dictionary page here. That's just screaming to be used. I usually like to do, maybe 5 layers or 3 layers. Oh, I don't like those points. Anyway, a papery type of stuff before I choose my focal points. Okay, I think I'm just going to leave this guy down. That one's already inked, that one's already inked. Little inking, whole lot of inking going on. And these don't all have to be monotone like this. I just kind of like it because then it makes it so that when I pick my focal point, it doesn't clash with anything. And when you're ready for that, you can do any kind of style. You can go grunge, you can go shabby chic, you can go kind of Victorian or Art Deco. Anything you like. You can do all of that on one sheet. All those different styles. These are just a backdrop to give it some interest. This paper, as you can see, has some kind of pink tones in it anyway. So, you know, it wouldn't be out of place necessarily to have, let's switch you guys around, to have like some Victorian velvet or something like that as far as colors go. Okay, another layer ready to go down. And again, I'm just kind of holding these in place. Oh, look at I glued the wrong side. Oh well, it's printed on both sides, right? Oh, heavens to Murgatroyd. Okay. I think it's more fun when you don't think about these too much, because then you get what you get. And it kind of becomes sort of fun. They sort of end up making themselves, right? Can you guys see okay? Here, let me bump you up a little bit. I always say, let the serendipity find you. The other day, I was just playing with inks, just distress inks and distress oxides, just kind of experimenting with them and just having a play. And serendipity found me, and I accidentally created a landscape, and it was, I think, well, I wasn't sure how I felt about it at first, but it really grew on me, and other people seemed to like it. So there it was. So I really, really like to just tell people, don't think about it too much. Thinking can kind of stifle creativity. Let the serendipity find you. If you make journals and you've been making them for a while, you have probably already discovered that they sort of make themselves. I don't really know how to explain that, except to say that it's like, how do you know when you're done? Well, all of a sudden, the journal just sort of says it's done. I don't know how to explain it. It just sort of says, okay, that's enough. And then all of a sudden, it's done. I can spend weeks on one journal and then suddenly discover that I've done enough. Let's see. Now I'm just tearing up the rest of a coffee dyed paper doily that I have already sort of torn up anyway, because I think clusters always need a little bit of lace. Okay, let me find another little bit. Looking for another bit of coffee dyed doily and finding it right here. This one hasn't been torn apart yet. And it almost looks like there are two together, and there are. Okay. So, when I am coffee dyeing paper, I have actually sort of cooked it a little bit too long in the oven, not to the point where it caught on fire or anything, but it ended up being just way too dark for my taste. So I have actually dried them in the dryer at times too. Hey, do you have one of those things that goes in your dryer? It's flat and it sits like in the sits on top of where the lint tray is in the door. And it's flat, and you can put like sweaters on it and shoes and stuff like that so that they'll dry flat. So I've done that. I've just put the dryer on low for a few minutes, and then it just dries it, and I don't have to worry about burning the house down. Because that's never a good thing when your hobby destroys your house. It's already taken over this room. I keep telling my husband, we should probably turn the garage into Kathy's craft room. And I don't know why he keeps saying no, but he does. I guess that's because where we keep our cars. Oh well. I would love to have a bigger craft space, but I'm happy with what I have. I'm glad I have one at all. Let's put it that way. When we downsized into this house, I was really worried I wasn't going to be able to fit all my craft stuff in here at all. I used to do a lot of scrapbooking. So when Michael's had all of their storage stuff on sale, where you can, the modular ones that are made out of wood that you can stack and store all your scrapbook papers and stuff like that in it. Well, I bought a bunch in our old house, and let go of me. Let go. I'm getting glue all over my fingers. I bought one, I had a bigger craft room in that house, and so when we downsized, I didn't think I was going to be able to fit everything. And I only lost one wicker bookshelf as far as space goes. So I actually made out And since I started making journals, I have expanded. I have used up every available space. So, books and things like that you like to tear apart and fussy cut out the pictures and stuff like that. I didn't want to buy bookshelves, but I wanted it to be expandable. So at Michael's, when they have their sales, I buy the wooden crates, and then my husband stain them and put them together kind of in a modular fashion so that they alternate, and they hold all of my books. And I have room for, I don't know, maybe, well, I really don't have any more room. Okay, so we're getting there. I need a baby wipe. And get all this glue off my fingers. So we're getting there. Some clusters are growing on this coffee dye paper. Now it's time. This is when I like to add some sort of a focal point. And a lot of times what I like to do is go through some of my fussy cuts, or maybe some of the, flowers from Tim Holtz. Kind of like that. That was a little fussy cut. It might be a little bit too big for that one, but it looks pretty good here. Okay, so that one can live there. Let's see. And obviously they don't have to all be the same. I have some daisies. I also really like to use butterflies. And sometimes I just stop and I just sort of put it all away until I can come back later. But these are looking pretty good. Okay, I finally decided what I wanted to put on each one of these. Thanks for your patience. And so I just have some random little bits and pieces. This one I had this little die cut flower that I did a while back out of some paper that I just inked up. And I found some orange and pink thread that I just today took off of a couple of spools because it was just literally the last little bit of it, and I wanted the spools. So this is what I'm going to put together. I have some sari silk. See if you can see everything here. Some eyelash trim and buttons, another little die cut flower out of inked up book page, a little Tim Holtz paper doll with a scrap of fabric, fussy cut flower, and a few butterflies. So let's get these down. I'm going to need some of my Fabri-Tac for some of this. All right, let's start on this one. So what I usually like to do with thread is just make a glob of glue and then just kind of squish it. Squish the thread right into the glue. It's so technical. It's just squishing. Let's take that off of there. Can you see? Okay. You can see I'm just sort of squishing the thread together like so, and then just squishing it in there. And sometimes when it gets stuck on my fingers, I'll grab this little guy and just keep squishing. And sometimes it behaves and sometimes it doesn't, and you just end up with what you end up with. Okay, then I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom of this flower and let the flower finish the job for me, like so. And a little button that I put some black thread in. Get this thing. You know, what would be really good for this project is a glue gun. And I have one, but I do not have it out. Okay, so that one's done. Let it dry. And this one, I kind of like the black and white stripe on here. So just want to give it a landing spot. Kind of like the way it goes with the notes. And a little bit more glue on the button. Might need a refill here pretty soon. Come on, glue. There we go. All right. And squish that right on there and let it dry. I'm going to move over to this one since I've got some fabric here. Hopefully you can see. I love sari silk. I especially love that teal color because it reminds me of the ocean. And the ocean is my favorite place to be. I live in Western Washington on an island in Puget Sound, so it's not really an ocean, but it's we've got water all around us. But I really like the big crashing waves, and I grew up most of my life in California before I moved up here, and scuba diving was something that my friend and I used to like to do down in the Monterey area. Carmel. Man, those were good times. We'd pile all of our gear in the back of my van, head down to the coast down there near Big Sur, and just spend the day in the water. Oh, so beautiful. Saw the cutest little octopus. He wasn't very big, maybe about as big as my green craft mat here. And I did not know until I saw it actually happen that octopus are chameleons. They change color when they're startled to match their surroundings. And I apparently startled him, and he got himself, he kind of like squished like that, a little swish, and blended so well into the background that I literally had to, I could barely see him. I mean, once the sand kind of settled down, then I was able to see him, but only barely, just because I was really, really looking for him. And if you have Netflix, I highly encourage you to watch the documentary, My Octopus Teacher. It was so good. It was all about octopus, this one guy's adventure with an octopus, and how he followed this octopus and sort of became friends with it. And it's a true story. So I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It was so good. And without giving too much away, I may or may not have needed tissue at the end. Okay. Let's get these little butterflies on. I'm just going to go ahead and keep using my Fabri-Tac. because I have it out. Am I still in frame? Yep. And that one already kind of tried to stick, but I want to get it better. One more little butterfly. Now some of these butterflies are kind of sticking up, their little tails and stuff. There we go. But that's okay, because when I go to use it, I will stick the rest of it down. All right, there we have it. A whole page of clusters. And I could just like totally keep going. I mean, page after page after page, but I think this is enough for now. And now the nice thing is that when you get ready to use it, you just tear it out, tear out a piece, and then you can make it as big or as small as you want to fit on whatever page you're using in your journal. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was of some value for you, and I hope you'll give it a shot. So please, if you did find some value, leave me a comment in the comments below to let me know if you liked it. And also, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. This is Kathy at Attic Treasures, etc. And remember, let the serendipity find you. Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining me today.